Scarcity is not a financial condition. It is a perceptual state. The human mind does not respond to actual resource availability. It responds to the perception of limitation. This perception operates identically in individuals with negative net worth and individuals with seven-figure bank accounts. The psychological experience of scarcity exists independently of objective financial reality. It shapes decisions, narrows focus, and distorts judgment in ways the conscious mind rarely detects. Scarcity bias is a cognitive phenomenon in which the perception of limited resources fundamentally alters mental processing. First rigorously documented by behavioral economists Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir. Scarcity bias describes how the mind behaves when it registers that something important is in short supply. This registration triggers systematic changes in attention, decision-making, and cognitive resource allocation. The bias operates through a mechanism called tunneling. When the mind perceives scarcity, it narrows its focus onto the scarce resource and immediate problems related to that resource. This narrowing is automatic, occurring beneath conscious awareness. Peripheral concerns, long-term considerations, and alternative frameworks are suppressed. The individual experiences enhanced focus on the immediate problem. They do not experience the simultaneous reduction in cognitive bandwidth for everything else. Scarcity bias is not a character flaw or a failure of intelligence. It is an evolved cognitive response to resource limitation. In ancestral environments with genuine periodic scarcity, this response was adaptive. In modern financial environments characterized by complexity, delayed consequences, and abstract value, the same response produces systematic decision-making errors. When scarcity is perceived, measurable changes occur in cognitive function. Working memory capacity decreases. The mind has fewer resources available for complex problem-solving, impulse control, and multi-step planning. This reduction is equivalent to a loss of approximately 13 IQ points in laboratory conditions. The person does not feel less intelligent. They feel focused, engaged with an urgent problem. Attention becomes rigid. The scarce resource, money, time, social capital, dominates conscious thought. This is experienced as important and appropriate. The mind is attending to what matters, but this attention comes at a cost. Background processing of non-urgent information declines. The ability to notice opportunity costs weakens. Long-term planning feels abstract and unimportant compared to immediate resource concerns. Risk assessment distorts systematically. Under scarcity, the mind overweights immediate losses and underweights delayed losses. It overvalues immediate gains and undervalues delayed gains. This is not irrationality. It is temporal discounting intensified by scarcity perception. The future becomes psychologically distant. Present resource states feel permanent. Decisions optimize for immediate resource stability rather than long-term resource accumulation. Loss aversion intensifies. The pain of losing resources exceeds the pleasure of gaining equivalent resources under normal conditions. Under perceived scarcity, this asymmetry increases. Every expenditure feels like a loss of precious, limited resources. Every saved dollar feels like protection against future scarcity. The emotional weight of money shifts dramatically, even when objective financial position has not changed. How scarcity bias quietly shapes money decisions. Short-term optimization over long-term planning. Scarcity bias creates a cognitive horizon. The mind focuses on immediate resource needs and near-future obligations. Long-term financial planning requires cognitive resources that scarcity has redirected toward immediate concerns. The individual intends to address retirement savings, investment strategy, or career development. These intentions are genuine, but when cognitive bandwidth is consumed by scarcity-driven tunneling, long-term planning never receives adequate mental resources. This manifests as chronic prioritization of immediate financial stability over future financial growth. The person pays bills, manages immediate expenses, and addresses short-term obligations. They do not build assets, invest in skill development, or make strategic career moves. The pattern feels rational. Immediate needs are real and urgent. Future needs are abstract and distant. The individual does not recognize that their cognitive architecture has made future needs psychologically inaccessible. Under scarcity bias, the mind disproportionately values small, Immediate savings, a discount. A coupon, a cheaper alternative, generates significant psychological reward. This occurs even when the absolute value is trivial relative to total resources, and even when pursuing the saving consumes time or attention worth more than the money saved. The mechanism is straightforward. Scarcity tunneling makes money feel scarce and precious. Saving money feels like increasing a limited resource. The emotional impact of saving $10 under scarcity perception can equal the impact of saving $100 under abundance perception. The individual experiences this as being financially responsible and prudent. They do not notice they are optimizing for psychological relief from scarcity rather than for actual financial outcomes. This creates paradoxical behavior. People spend 30 minutes comparing prices to save $3. They purchase lower quality items that require replacement, generating higher long-term costs. They invest cognitive energy in micro-optimizations while missing macro opportunities. The pattern persists because each instance generates genuine psychological reward. Scarcity reduces tolerance for uncertain outcomes. When resources feel limited, preserving what exists becomes paramount. Risk-taking requires surplus, psychological surplus, not just financial surplus, under scarcity bias. No amount of money feels like surplus. Everything feels necessary and threatened. This manifests as systematic avoidance of choices with uncertain outcomes, even when expected value strongly favors action. The person does not invest because markets fluctuate. They do not change careers because income might temporarily decrease. They do not start businesses because success is not guaranteed. Each avoidance is justified through rational-sounding analysis. The underlying driver is scarcity-induced risk aversion, not objective assessment of probability and outcome. The individual experiences this as prudence and realism. They see themselves as avoiding foolish risks that others take due to ignorance or recklessness. They do not recognize that their risk assessment has been systematically distorted by scarcity perception. Opportunities with favorable risk-reward profiles are rejected automatically, beneath the level of conscious deliberation. Scarcity bias creates disproportionate attachment to money designated as safety reserves. Emergency funds, savings accounts, and liquid assets generate powerful psychological comfort. This comfort is not proportional to the actual security the money provides. It is proportional to the intensity of scarcity perception. This manifests as reluctance to deploy available capital, even when deployment would improve financial position. The person has savings but will not invest them. They have emergency funds that exceed any plausible emergency but resist reducing them. The money provides psychological protection against scarcity, and this psychological function feels more important than financial optimization. The attachment operates automatically. Proposals to use safety money generate immediate anxiety, regardless of the rational case for deployment. The individual constructs explanations. Markets are uncertain. Emergencies are unpredictable. Circumstances could change. These explanations are not fabrications. They are post hoc justifications for an emotional response generated by scarcity bias. The money remains idle while opportunities pass, and the person experiences this as responsible financial management. Why educated and intelligent people are not immune. Cognitive capacity does not override scarcity bias. Intelligence provides tools for rationalization, not protection from cognitive biases. Highly educated individuals experience scarcity tunneling, loss aversion intensification, and temporal discounting under perceived scarcity, just as less educated individuals do. In some cases, intelligence reinforces the bias. Intelligent people generate sophisticated justifications for scarcity-driven decisions. They construct elaborate risk models that formalize their scarcity-induced risk aversion. They develop complex theories explaining why their short-term focus is actually optimal given market conditions, economic uncertainty, or personal circumstances. The theories are internally coherent. They are also rationalizations of decisions made through biased cognitive processes. Knowledge of scarcity bias does not eliminate it. Knowing that scarcity narrows cognitive bandwidth does not widen that bandwidth when scarcity is perceived. The bias operates at a level beneath conscious control. Awareness creates recognition, not immunity. Modern economic structures reinforce scarcity perception. Monthly salaries create artificial scarcity cycles. Credit systems frame resources as limited and precious. Educational debt establishes scarcity perception before career begins. Social media enables constant comparison, ensuring that regardless of absolute wealth, relative position can always be framed as scarce. Employment structures create periodic resource uncertainty. Annual reviews, contract renewals, and job market volatility maintain low-level scarcity activation. The individual never fully transitions from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset, regardless of accumulated wealth. High earners report financial anxiety at rates that do not correlate with their actual financial security. The anxiety is real. It is generated by scarcity perception, not scarcity reality. Scarcity bias reveals a fundamental feature of human cognition. The mind responds to perceived conditions more powerfully than to actual conditions. Financial reality and psychological reality operate on separate tracks. A person can be objectively secure and psychologically scarce. They can be objectively limited and psychologically abundant. The financial decisions they make are determined by the psychological state, not the objective state. This creates a strange loop. Scarcity perception generates decisions that feel rational and necessary. Those decisions often perpetuate the conditions that maintain scarcity perception. The cycle is self-reinforcing and largely invisible to the person experiencing it. They see themselves as responding appropriately to their circumstances. They do not see that their perception of circumstances is being constructed by a cognitive bias that operates automatically, continuously, and beneath awareness. The question is not whether you experience scarcity bias. The question is whether you recognize it when it is active.